It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the UNCG Volleyball Assistant Coach and Recruitment Coordinator, Nicole Cirillo. How are y'all doing today?
Doing great, Brandon. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about your coaching career and how you got started?
Yeah, so I've been coaching college. This will be my 17th season coaching. And then I also coached 4 years of clubs while I was a student athlete as well. So it's been a long time here. But, I got started actually when I was a senior in college. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And one of my coaches said, you've been coaching club, like you have the personality to be a college coach. How does that sound? I said, awesome. Where do I start? And he kind of helped me obviously with some connections. And, I started my career at a Division II school, Missouri Southern in Joplin, Missouri. Was there for a few years, then went to IUPUI in Indianapolis, and then ended up at South Dakota State. And now I'm in much warmer weather here in Greensboro at UNCG.
Can you talk about being the assistant at UNCG?
Yeah, it's been an interesting ride. When you start in the middle of a pandemic, there's definitely some different challenges than I've ever had before. But it's been a good transition. I was a head coach before for 5 years at South Dakota State. And so being back in the assistant role, I'm excited about it. And I have been. It just allows me to be a different focus for the student athletes. No matter how nice I am, how mean I am, whatever, having that head coach title, it just is just different. And, one of the reasons that I enjoy coaching is obviously the volleyball, huge competitor, for the sport and everything, but, it's the people, it's the girls, and having an impact on their lives. And though you have it in a different way as a head coach, you definitely have it from a more kind of quote unquote friendlier style. They'll tend to open up to you a little bit more and those things. So I've really enjoyed that aspect, and being able to practice the amount of time that we have during, with the circumstances has been good, because it was taken away from me in the spring when I first got here in March, and for everyone, but we're settling in now that we're a few months in, and looking forward to the competitive season here starting in January.
Can you talk about the recruitment coordinator part of your job?
Yeah, so, one of my main roles is obviously the recruiting. And so it looks a little bit different again right now, but, it's one of the fun parts about coaching in general. And then being the coordinator is, you get to build these relationships with athletes across the country. And so, being able to go out and kind of handpick the athletes that you think athletically are going to help your program. But then again, as I mentioned, build those relationships, see what type of people they are, what drives them. That's really important to us, to make sure that not only we have good athletes, but good students and just good people.
That's wonderful. Can you talk about your time at North Dakota for the last 4 years as the head coach?
Well, it's South Dakota.
Oh, South Dakota.
Yeah, no, that's all right. It was great. I was at IUPUI for 6 years prior to that, which I say that because we were in the same conference as South Dakota State. So that's where I became familiar with it, playing them obviously a few times every year. And it was a great experience. I was looking to get into the head coaching role at that time. I'd been at IUPUI for 5 years, 6 years. time flies. And, time to move on. And it was a great experience. It was a challenge. I took over a very struggling program, so I definitely had my work cut out for me. But, I'm very proud of the work that I did there. Very proud of the athletes that, took a chance on kind of a young head coach, a struggling program trying to up, and I wouldn't change that experience for the world. Maybe the cold weather a little bit, but.
Can you talk about your time at Missouri Southern State from '04 to '09?
Yeah, so that was my first coaching job. And again, it was kind of a connection through one of my college coaches that I had. And actually, he's still my mentor to this day, and he's actually now the head coach at Davidson. So we're ironically in the same state, and we've been able to see each other a lot more here recently than we have the past 15 years. So it's been really good, but, kind of a similar situation, a program that was, right around 500, at the Division II level and in a very, very good conference. And it was his first head coaching job. And so, I got to go in, and again, you kind of always feel like you're being thrown in the fire, but I ended up spending 5 years there, and we, had took the first team to an NCAA tournament, lots of awards and all that kind of stuff. So it was a very humbling experience to be able to build, and that's one thing that I kind of pride myself on is I've been a part of not winning programs and took them forward. And so for me, that's really exciting. So much is about winning. And of course, trust me, I am a super competitive person, but it's also about the process and what it takes and how good it feels when you do take steps forward. And, you start getting some of those things like first NCAA tournaments, first, all conference player, first player of the year, and those sort of things.
Can you talk about what you plan to accomplish as the recruitment coordinator?
Just kind of really to, get the best athletes that we can. That's pretty much a pretty standard answer right there. But again, it's being able to combine Corey, our head coach's experience, what he's looking for, and then me with my experience, what I have done in the past when it comes to recruiting and conversations and questions that we've had. And so again, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel by any means, but especially in this difficult time and where the recruiting process looks very, very different right now with no face-to-face contact, and student athletes can't come onto campus, we can't be out recruiting. It's a lot more Zoom calls, a lot more FaceTime walking around campus, a lot more phone calls. So, you just have to really kind of switch the dial a little bit in, how you approach it, because both sides are taking a leap of faith right now. We're not able to truly evaluate live, a lot of film. And so that's something that I'm really doing a lot of right now, is I've watched more film in the past 6 months than I ever have before, because that's what I have to do in order to continue to move forward so that we don't get left behind in the recruiting process with the upcoming classes.
Can you talk about the official visit and what that's like at UNCG?
Well, I have no idea. We haven't been able to have any official visits here since I've been here. But, typically what an official visit is basically it's a visit that we as a program can pay for. And so, the prospective student athlete comes in, we give them a tour of campus. We give them opportunity to sit down with our athletes to be able to ask them questions, because at the end of the day, we as coaches, we have a good gauge, obviously, of where our program is, of the girls, of what our practice culture is, but it is the girls that really dictate that. And so to give those prospective student athletes that opportunity to sit down and ask the questions that they want from the girls, what is the team culture like? Again, I have a gauge of what it is, but what the girls actually do on a day-to-day basis, with each other in the locker room, that's really important for the girls to be able to answer those questions and to be honest. And we encourage that, not everything is perfect. Doesn't matter what university it is, not everything is perfect. What is that? What is the good is you can live with? What is like, this is really bad? And let the student athlete, the prospective student athlete, make the decision based of those things, along with all the other information, whether it's academic or, from there.
Of course, like without the pandemic, are y'all able to try on jerseys without the pandemic affecting?
To try on jerseys?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
On the official visit?
Yes. Yes, we are allowed to take pictures. Now we can't post them or do anything with them, but if they end up committing and then when signing day comes, we can use them then. But they're basically kept in-house until that happens. And if they don't commit, then we just delete and, don't use them anywhere.
Can you talk about some of your future plans at UNCG?
Future plans. I think my biggest future plan is to try to get us to play as many matches as possible this spring in its simplest form. Beyond that, we've had some unfortunate injuries the past year or two. And so, really trying to minimize that and have it not be such an impact. So really trying to make sure that we're taking, and not that we haven't in the past, but, really break down and look at, how prepared are our athletes coming into the season. And so right now, actually with our season switching to the spring, this is a prime opportunity for us to do that. And so we've been hitting the weight room, the conditioning. We did a whole progression to return to play, to ensure that our athletes were staying healthy because they had such a detrained time from March into August, whenever they were allowed back on campus. So that's a big thing that, I really want to continue with, whether pandemic or not, really take that into consideration because it did really hurt the team in previous years. And sometimes you can't plan for it. And the things that, we've had happen in the past, it's no one's fault, they just happened. But again, really looking at it and taking some of this opportunity to kind of really evaluate some things of what's been done in the past. What are we going to do moving forward? What are things going to look like moving forward? And continue to obviously recruit, standout women, to make sure that we continue the strong winning tradition that is here at UNCG.
Can you talk about some of the people that you play in your conference?
Yeah, again, I haven't played against any of them. I mean, I know the schools for the most part. As far as we have, Western Carolina, we have the Citadel, Mercer. Oh gosh, you're gonna really test me here. Oh gosh, of course I'm gonna draw a blank. But we're in the Southern Conference, and so we're a pretty close-knit conference as far as location. The furthest that we travel, I believe, is Birmingham, Alabama. So I think that's starting to work on our travel schedule here, but I think it's about 7.5 hours or so. So, that's our longest trip. But beyond that, I think we have 1 6 hour and everything else is between 2 or 3. So I know that's one thing that I'm looking forward to. I came from a conference where we had to fly at least 3 times just to get to conference matches. So having an all bus schedule definitely makes things a little bit easier when it comes to traveling.
Can you talk about that and what it's like traveling on an airplane with a team than a bus?
A little bit more stress, making sure that, everyone's on the same page as far as, what gate we're at, if things change, there's just if obviously we have to be there a little bit early. So making sure that they know what time are we boarding, is everyone getting on the plane? There's always a backup plan of what if someone gets left behind, which has never happened for me personally, at least. But, you know, there's been other opportunities, and actually this was more of a recruiting trip, but I have shown up for a flight and the flight got canceled and I was not made aware of it. So there's always those things. And even with team travel, you know, if you miss a layover, there's delays of some sort. You know, I will say I've been very fortunate with a few of those incidents that, you know, they took the fact that we were a team into consideration and helped us before some of the single flight people, which they weren't very happy, but I was thrilled. So, you know, just a little bit more stress, but, you know, it's, again, once you do it the first time or two, it just becomes routine for the girls, for the coaches, you know what to expect. And again, making sure that everyone's on the same page and just being very communicative about what is going on.
Can you talk about, as a player, like how difficult is it to like manage your schedule with like your classes, and then like let's say you might have to fly out at 3, but you have a class at 3.
Mm-hmm. You know, we make our student athletes aware of what our schedule is going to look like. And so, you know, we know that we have to leave on a lot of Fridays. So we try to steer clear of as many Friday classes as possible. If we can't, then at least put them in the morning. You know, same thing with Thursdays. We don't want to go late on Thursdays. So if you happen to have to take a night class, try not to do it on Thursday night, because we're going to be leaving on some Thursdays to get to our Friday matches as well. So, you know, we are very aware and conscious of our girls' schedule, trying to make sure that not only are they getting the classes that they need, but that it is somewhat fitting into what we do to limit the amount of class time that they miss. You know, and then on the first day of classes, they're presented with a letter that they give to their professors to let them know that they are a student athlete and play for the volleyball team, and that there will be some days, but it is ultimately up to make sure that they communicate with their professor about, hey, remember, I'm leaving on Thursday, you know, do you want me to turn in my homework assignment before or after? And every professor is different, and you know, but it's been great. Out of, again, my 17 years of coaching, I have had very little, if any, problems when it comes to that. The girls are typically very on top of their studies. We do have an athletic academic advising staff that helps if there are any issues. I've proctored exams on the road. You know, everything is done online now, so it becomes a lot easier trying to navigate some of those waters.
What advice would you give upcoming future volleyball players that are looking to get into college volleyball?
Something that you want to do, then you can make it happen. It's not going to be easy, but nothing rarely is if you really want to make it happen. I am a mom of 3. I have 3 boys at home. And, you know, are there some things that I miss out because of college coaching? Sure, I would be the first to admit that. But at the same time, the experiences and some of the opportunities that my kids have been able to have because their mom is a college coach has been absolutely phenomenal as well. And that's one thing that, you know, I really pride myself on, is that, and again, college coaching isn't for everyone, male or female, that doesn't matter. But obviously coaching women, and being a woman in the sport, you know, I think that piece is extremely important, that if you want to make it work, there is a way. And so, you know, you just got to be diligent. You got to make sure that you have support. You know, I have a lot of female fellow coaches that have been able to help me through some things and support me, and vice versa. You know, I support them to be a sounding board of struggles and things that are happening. And so it's just really making sure that whatever it is that you want to do, even if it's not coaching, that, you know, you work hard to make it work if that's what you really want. It's, like I said, it's not going to be easy all the time, but you're going to find, a lot of positives, if that's what you really want, outweigh some of the negatives that happen.
Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with UNCG's volleyball program at?
Oh gosh, UNCG, volleyball, we have both Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. That is a part of my job that I've had to take over, and it's not my favorite. But I do all of the social media stuff right now. And then for me personally, I have Facebook and Instagram, so it's just, I don't even know my handle and stuff. Just Nicole Cirillo, you'd be able to find me for sure.
Thank you again, Nicole, for your interview, and best of luck in your future at UNCG as the assistant coach along with the recruitment coordinator.
Thank you, Brandon, very much.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at @talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Nicole, for your interview, and best of luck.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.